I was sent to negotiate peace, but the alien queen recognized my voice and froze. Ethan Brooks adjusted his seat and looked out of the small window of the shuttle. The stars streaked past like silver threads, and the silence of space made his thoughts louder than usual. He had been chosen to negotiate peace with the Solari Empire, a civilization humans had only contacted once before. Many feared the aliens. They were tall, with shining eyes and sharp voices that could make even the bravest soldier pause. Ethan's job was simple, yet dangerous. He was the only human sent, because the Solari feared large fleets and armies. Humans wanted peace, but peace could be fragile. He checked the communicator on his wrist. The signal from the Human Council was steady. He had the authority to sign preliminary agreements if the aliens agreed. He could feel the weight of the responsibility pressing against his chest. A wrong word, a wrong tone, could end everything before it even started. Ethan took a deep breath. He thought of his family back on Earth. His younger sister, Claire, had waved him off at the spaceport, her eyes shining with worry. Ethan had promised her he would return. He whispered softly to himself, "I will make it back." The shuttle hummed as it approached the alien capital. The planet below was enormous, with green oceans and purple deserts that glimmered under the sun. Cities rose like silver needles, connected by bridges that glowed faintly in the twilight. Ethan had seen images before, but nothing compared to the real view. He tried to keep his awe in check. This was not sightseeing, this was diplomacy. When the shuttle landed, Ethan was met by two alien guards. They were taller than he expected, their skin a soft metallic blue, and their eyes glowed faintly. They spoke in a language he did not understand. The translator in his ear converted the words instantly. "Welcome, human envoy. You will be escorted to the court." Ethan nodded, keeping his voice calm. "Thank you. I look forward to speaking with your queen." As he walked through the palace halls, Ethan noticed the intricate carvings on the walls. They told stories of battles, alliances, and sacrifices from centuries ago. He realized that this empire had history, strength, and pride. He also sensed suspicion in the air. The aliens around him watched his every move, their glowing eyes following him. He forced himself to remain composed. His training emphasized patience, calmness, and respect. One wrong expression could be taken as a threat. Finally, he arrived at the main court. The hall was vast, bigger than any human building he had ever seen. Light shone from floating crystals, casting a soft glow over the polished floor. Rows of aliens sat on raised platforms, their postures straight and stiff. At the center, on a throne made of a shimmering material he could not name, sat the queen. She was tall, her skin a deeper shade of blue than the guards, and her eyes were larger than he had imagined. Her presence alone made the hall feel smaller. Ethan felt a shiver run down his spine, but he hid it. He bowed slightly, the universal sign of respect. The queen's gaze fell on him. Ethan could feel the power in it, cold and sharp, yet curious. She did not speak at first. The court waited silently. Ethan cleared his throat and said, "I am Ethan Brooks, sent by the Human Council to discuss peace." His voice sounded ordinary to him, but in the hall it echoed slightly, calm and steady. The queen's eyes widened. She froze as if time itself had stopped. The guards tensed, unsure what was happening. Ethan noticed her hand tighten slightly on the throne, but she did not speak. The silence was heavy. Ethan thought he might have misstepped. He had only spoken a greeting, yet the queen looked as if she had seen a ghost. One of the advisors, a smaller alien with greenish skin, leaned forward and whispered something to her. She did not respond immediately. Ethan's heart beat faster. He had no idea why she reacted this way. He kept his posture straight, trying to show respect, not fear. Finally, the queen spoke, her voice soft but filled with power. "Human, you speak like someone I remember." Her words made the court murmur quietly. Ethan blinked. "I do not understand, your majesty," he said, careful with every word. The queen's eyes narrowed. She leaned slightly forward, as if trying to see more clearly. "It cannot be," she whispered to herself. The guards shifted, confused by her reaction. Ethan remained still. He knew that showing confusion or panic could make things worse. He waited patiently, hoping for clarity. One of the alien advisors stepped forward. "Queen, this is the envoy sent by humans. We verified his identity. He carries no weapons. He is here to negotiate peace." The queen's eyes flicked to the advisor, then back to Ethan. Her breathing seemed to slow, and she raised one hand, signaling the court to remain calm. Ethan felt a small relief. He did not know what she remembered, but it was clear that his voice had caused a reaction she could not explain. The queen rose slowly from her throne. Her height made her look even more imposing. She walked down a few steps toward Ethan, her eyes never leaving him. "Your voice," she said again, almost to herself. Ethan bowed slightly. "Your Majesty, I only speak as a human envoy. I have come for peace." The queen stopped a few feet away from him. She seemed torn between recognition and disbelief. The hall remained silent. Even the floating crystals seemed to dim slightly in anticipation. After a long pause, the queen finally said, "You will not be taken for granted here, not even by me." Her tone was firm, but there was an undercurrent of something else, curiosity, perhaps, or caution. Ethan nodded, understanding her words. He was here not just as a diplomat, but as a symbol of humanity. Every word mattered. He said carefully, "I will do my best to honor your trust." The queen signaled the guards to lower their weapons. She gestured for Ethan to follow her to a smaller chamber nearby. As he walked, Ethan felt the weight of the moment. He had expected formalities, but this reaction was unexpected. He wondered what he had done in the past to cause this. His mind raced through memories, trying to recall any encounter that might have reached another world. He thought of his disaster relief missions years ago, the times he had given orders during emergencies, the broadcasts that might have gone unnoticed. Could one of those be the cause? In the smaller chamber, the queen gestured for him to sit. She remained standing, her posture rigid, yet there was a strange tension in her shoulders. "Human, your voice," she began again. Ethan waited, not wanting to interrupt. She took a deep breath, as if gathering herself. "Years ago, I heard a message from your kind. It saved me and many others. It was only a voice. No ships, no armies, just a voice." Ethan's heart skipped. He remembered sending out broadcasts during a disaster on a distant human colony. Instructions, calm words, guidance, words meant to help people survive. He never imagined that they had traveled so far to an alien world and reached someone like her. I had no idea," Ethan said softly. "I only spoke to help to guide those in danger." The queen's eyes softened slightly, but the tension in the room remained. "Your words carried far," she said. "Farther than you know." Ethan nodded, feeling both awe and a strange fear. He had never thought that a human voice could have such power, reaching across light years and influencing a life he did not even know existed. The queen finally gestured for him to sit fully, and she leaned slightly against the wall. "You are the first human I have met, yet your voice, it is familiar." Ethan realized that this recognition could change everything. He had been prepared for hostility, for suspicion, even for hostility veiled as civility, but not this. He said carefully, "I hope familiarity can become understanding." She studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. The tension in the chamber eased just a little. The first step toward peace had been made, but Ethan knew the hardest work was still ahead. Outside, the court waited, confused by the sudden pause. Inside, Ethan and the queen began what would be a long conversation, not just about treaties and borders, but about memory, trust, and the meaning of a human voice reaching across the stars. Every word mattered. Every pause could shift the future. Ethan realized that he had been sent not just as a negotiator, but as a reminder. Sometimes peace began with something as simple as a voice, steady and calm, carrying hope across the universe. The shuttle that had brought him here sat quietly in the docking bay, a reminder of the journey that had begun. Ethan knew he was far from home, but he also knew that perhaps he was exactly where he needed to be. He had been chosen for this mission because humans believed in their words, their actions, and their courage. Now, standing in the alien queen's chamber, he saw the truth. Humans could touch worlds in ways far beyond weapons or fleets. The first meeting ended with no agreements, no promises, but with understanding. Ethan would speak again. The queen would listen. And somewhere deep in the tension of that vast alien palace, a seed of peace had been planted, nurtured by the most human of tools. Words, spoken carefully, with heart and courage. After the first meeting, Ethan Brooks was escorted to a guest chamber in the alien palace. The room was large, with smooth walls that shimmered faintly, reflecting soft light from the ceiling. There were no chairs like humans had. Instead, cushions floated slightly above the floor. Ethan sat on one, trying to calm his thoughts. The events of the meeting kept replaying in his mind. The queen's reaction to his voice was something he could not understand. He had spoken as any human diplomat would, yet her recognition had shaken the entire court. Ethan tried to recall any past missions that could have left such an impression. Years ago, he had been part of disaster relief teams on distant human colonies. In one mission, a colony on a remote planet had suffered massive floods. Ethan had been responsible for sending emergency instructions, coordinating rescue teams, and broadcasting guidance to people trapped in dangerous areas. He had never imagined that any of those instructions could reach beyond human ears, let alone be remembered by someone from another civilization. He wondered if the Queen, Sailira, had actually heard his voice in those broadcasts. The thought was both incredible and frightening. He had spoken thousands of words in his career, most forgotten by humans. Yet somehow one had reached her, survived across space, and shaped her life. The weight of that realization made him sit straighter. Words could travel far, but he had never truly believed they could change a life on an alien world. A soft chime echoed through the room, and a door slid open. An alien servant, smaller and paler than the guards, entered silently. She carried a tray with a simple meal, a paste of fruits and protein-rich grains, strange to human eyes but nutritious. Ethan nodded politely. "Thank you," he said, his voice steady. She inclined her head and left without another word. Ethan ate slowly, thinking about the Queen's words. He decided to rest for a while. Tomorrow he would speak with her again. He needed to prepare. Humans relied on logic explanations and calm words. Yet here in an alien palace, logic was not enough. Understanding their culture, their fears, and their memories could make the difference between peace and war. He reviewed his notes quietly, planning every word he would say. The next morning, he was escorted to a private chamber where Queen Sailira waited. This time the hall was smaller, less formal. She sat on a low platform, her posture relaxed but her eyes still sharp. Ethan approached carefully. "Your Majesty," he said, bowing slightly. She nodded. "Human, come forward, we have much to speak about." Ethan took a deep breath. "I want to understand why my voice surprised you yesterday." Sailira's gaze held his. "Long ago I was young, my world was in chaos. My people fought over land, resources, and power. We were hiding from the armies of my own empire. It was a dangerous time," she said softly. Ethan listened, not interrupting. "One day, a message came. It was a voice from your people, giving instructions on how to survive, how to find safe places, how to avoid danger. I never forgot it." Ethan's mind raced. "That must have been from a disaster broadcast I was part of," he said quietly. I did not know it reached your planet." Sailira nodded. "It did. Your voice, it guided me. It gave me hope when there was none. I remembered it all these years, even as I grew and became queen." Hearing it again, it is unsettling. She paused, then looked directly at him. "Why do humans speak to strangers with such care? You do not gain power, money, or land. You only give guidance, help, and protection." Ethan smiled faintly. "Humans believe in helping others. Even strangers. Sometimes we do not know why, but we do it because it is right. We hope that helping others will make the world or the universe a safer place." Sailira studied him closely. "Your people are not like what we were taught to fear. They are different." A long silence followed. Ethan noticed the tension in her body. She had not fully relaxed, yet she was speaking openly. "Your voice carries truth and calm," she said finally. "It is rare among humans, it seems." Ethan felt a mixture of pride and nervousness. He had been trained to speak clearly, to remain calm, but he had never imagined his voice could carry such weight across worlds. "I was trained to speak calmly in emergencies," he said. "Perhaps that helped, but mostly, I only wanted to help." Sailira nodded. "Help can change lives. Your help changed mine. Perhaps it changed many others too." She gestured for him to sit closer. "You are a strange human. You carry power and words, and yet you have no armies here. You speak and we listen. It is confusing." Ethan chuckled softly. "Sometimes the greatest power is not in weapons or fleets. Sometimes it is in understanding, in speaking calmly and showing respect." They continued to speak for hours. Ethan learned about Sailira's world, her people's struggles, and the rigid rules that governed their empire. Sailira learned about human values, about cooperation, empathy, and the belief that even small actions could ripple far into the universe. Each word built a fragile bridge between their civilizations. However, not everyone in the palace approved. Outside the chamber, some nobles whispered among themselves. They feared that the queen was being influenced by a human. Some saw it as a threat to tradition and power. Others were simply suspicious. One noble, taller than the rest, with dark scales and sharp eyes, muttered, "She listens to him. A single human, this could weaken the throne." Another added, "We must watch her closely." Humans cannot be trusted. Their plotting was quiet, almost invisible, but Ethan's calm words had already begun to unsettle their certainty. While the Queen and Ethan spoke, they devised a plan. First, they would establish trust, not with grand gestures, but with small acts. Ethan suggested a joint mission to survey a nearby asteroid belt, a neutral location where humans and Salari could observe each other's methods. Salira agreed cautiously. It would be a test of cooperation, a way to show her people that humans could be allies. Later, Ethan returned to his chamber. He felt a mixture of relief and anticipation. The Queen's reaction had given him an opening, but the true challenge had just begun. He could not rely only on recognition or shared memories. He needed to demonstrate that humans were reliable, that they could be trusted, and that peace was possible. He thought of his family again. Claire's face appeared in his mind, smiling and full of hope. He promised himself silently, "I will not fail. I will make peace, and I will return home." In the quiet of his chamber, Ethan reviewed his notes, planned his next words, and imagined the future. He was far from home, yet he felt a strange connection. His voice, once just a tool for communication, had become a symbol of hope. He had not even spoken a sentence yet in formal negotiation, and already the course of history might be changing. As night fell over the alien capital, the stars reflected off the tall towers and glowing bridges. Ethan looked out of the window, thinking of the journey ahead. Tomorrow he would meet the Queen again, and the conversation would grow deeper. Trust would be tested. Doubts would rise. But he believed in the simplest human truth. Even in the vastness of space, one voice, steady and calm, could reach across the stars and touch a life. In the distance, the palace remained quiet, but Ethan could feel the tension growing. Whispers of suspicion among the nobles, the curiosity of the Queen, and the hope of humanity all merged into one fragile thread. He knew that the coming days would decide not just the future of humans and Salari, but perhaps the fate of entire worlds. Yet he did not falter. He would speak. He would guide. He would hope. The next morning arrived with soft light reflecting off the crystalline towers. Ethan dressed carefully, preparing for another meeting. He felt the weight of responsibility, yet also a strange calm. His words had power, as the Queen had shown. The question now was whether they could use that power to build peace before fear and suspicion tore it apart. The shuttle that had brought him here remained docked quietly in the background, a reminder that he could leave at any moment. Yet Ethan had no desire to leave. He had seen the opportunity to make a difference, and he would not waste it. He stepped into the palace corridors, his heart steady, his mind focused, and his voice ready to speak the words that might change history. The day began quietly, but Ethan Brooks knew calm could be temporary. He walked through the palace halls toward the Queen's private chamber. The guards nodded but did not speak. The walls shimmered softly, reflecting light from the floating crystals above. Ethan felt a strange mix of awe and tension. Yesterday's conversations had opened a door, but he knew the hardest part of negotiation had yet to come. Understanding the Queen's memory of his voice was one thing. Convincing her people and the Empire to trust humans was another. When he entered the chamber, Queen Salira was already waiting. She sat on a low platform, her eyes fixed on him. She gestured for him to sit near the center of the room. "Human," she said softly, "I have thought about what you said yesterday. Your voice, it carries calm and guidance, but my people, they fear humans. Many have never seen one, yet they speak of your kind as enemies." Ethan nodded. "Fear often grows where understanding is missing. Humans have sent explorers, scientists, and relief teams. We want peace, but we know fear can block reason." Salira leaned back slightly. "Then how do we show my people that humans are not dangerous, that your words are not tricks?" Ethan thought for a moment. "We show them with actions, small actions first, help them in ways they cannot ignore, prove that our intentions are real." Salira studied him, considering. "Actions, perhaps, but some are impatient. Some seek power over others. They may try to stop peace before it begins." Ethan nodded. He understood. Every civilization had those who feared change. "Then we must be patient and careful." The Queen gestured for him to follow her. Together, they walked down a narrow corridor to a balcony overlooking the city. The towers rose like silver needles, bridges glowed softly, and small ships moved through the air. "This city," Salira said, was built on order, on strength, on fear of enemies. Many still see humans as threats. Ethan looked out at the city. I see beauty too. It is clear your people are skilled, organized, and capable. They can learn trust if we show them it is safe. Salira's eyes narrowed slightly. Some will resist, some will spread lies. They may accuse you of trickery, of spying, of weakness. Ethan said calmly, then we meet each challenge openly. We do not hide our intentions. Humans speak clearly and we show actions that match words. It will not be easy, but it is possible. She turned to him. You speak as if the universe is simple, yet fear can turn allies into enemies in a day. Ethan smiled faintly. I know, but sometimes one steady voice can remind others of what is true. Your people may forget, but actions speak too. Help, guidance, protection. Even a small gesture can change hearts. Salira's gaze softened slightly. Then we must plan carefully. We begin with trust, small steps. You will accompany me to the outer sectors. There, humans and Salari can work together on minor tasks. It will be observed. If you succeed, others may believe in peace. Ethan nodded, feeling the first spark of hope. I will do everything possible, Your Majesty. She studied him for a moment, then gestured for the guards to prepare the transport. Then we leave in 2 cycles. You must be ready. Ethan turned to leave, but Salira called softly, Human, tell me again why humans help others without expecting reward. Ethan paused. Because it is right, because it can save lives, because hope is stronger than fear. The Queen nodded slowly. Perhaps there is truth in your kind. I hope it will spread. As Ethan returned to his chamber, he sensed tension in the palace. Whispers among the nobles had grown louder. Some were openly opposed to his presence. He could hear phrases in passing. The Queen trusts him too much. A human cannot be allowed to influence decisions. This could weaken the empire. He realized that their plans for peace could face open hostility if the nobles acted too soon. He made a note to remain cautious, to speak carefully, and to demonstrate reliability through action rather than words alone. The next morning, Ethan prepared for the journey to the outer sectors. He checked his equipment, communication devices, data pads, and protective gear. The transport ship was sleek and fast, capable of carrying humans and Salari safely. The Queen and her closest advisors joined him, along with a small contingent of soldiers. Ethan felt a mixture of anxiety and excitement. This mission would test not just words, but trust in action. The transport lifted smoothly from the palace platform. Ethan looked out at the city shrinking below them. He realized how fragile this peace was. One misstep, one misunderstanding, and fear could undo weeks of work. Yet he also felt the power of small gestures. A calm voice, clear instructions, and steady presence could change minds and hearts faster than armies. He repeated quietly to himself, we must show them trust. Hours later, the transport reached the outer sectors. The landscape was rugged, with mountains, rivers, and fields of strange, glowing plants. Small villages of Salari lived here, isolated from the central city. Ethan and the Queen disembarked, greeted by curious villagers. The humans and aliens would work together on rebuilding structures damaged by recent storms. Ethan led teams, explaining tasks calmly, showing techniques to the Salari, and offering guidance. He spoke clearly, step by step, demonstrating human efficiency and care. The villagers watched cautiously. At first, they whispered among themselves, doubting his intentions. But as hours passed, they began to notice results. Walls were repaired, irrigation systems fixed, and food supplies organized efficiently. Ethan remained patient, answering questions, listening carefully, and helping whenever needed. Small gestures, sharing water, showing concern for safety, offering encouragement, began to soften suspicion. The Queen observed silently, her gaze steady, noting every detail. In the evening, Ethan gathered the villagers and the small team of Salari. He spoke to them simply. We are here to help. We do not want power, we do not want land. We only want cooperation. Together, we can rebuild faster and safer. Trust is built by working together, step by step. Some villagers nodded slowly, their expressions softening. A few even smiled. It was small progress, but progress nonetheless. Meanwhile, back in the palace, the whispers of nobles turned into plotting. They feared that Ethan's success in the outer sectors could influence the Queen's decisions. One noble said, if humans succeed here, the Queen may weaken our rules. We cannot allow it. Another replied, we must act before trust grows, before she sees humans as allies. Their voices were low, but their intent was clear. Ethan's presence had already begun to challenge their authority, and some were willing to risk confrontation to stop it. As night fell over the outer sectors, Ethan sat beside a small fire, talking quietly with the Queen. She was thoughtful, her eyes reflecting the flames. "Your people, they are patient, even in danger. They speak calmly and act with purpose," she said. Ethan nodded. "We try." "Words are important, but actions show what we mean," she smiled faintly. "Perhaps this is why your voice saved me long ago. Words without action are empty. Your words carried guidance and your actions followed." Ethan realized that their cooperation here was more than a test. It was proof that humans and Selari could work together. Fear and suspicion were strong, but small successes built trust. He thought of his family again, imagining how Claire would react if she could see him now. He whispered quietly, "I will not fail." "This is the first step toward real peace." The Queen stood, looking at the stars. "We must be careful, not all will accept this. Some will act against us," she said. Ethan nodded. "Then we continue patiently, we show trust through deeds." Fear cannot grow if they see help and guidance in action. They agreed to return to the capital in a few cycles, bringing news of progress and results. The hope was fragile, but it existed. As they prepared to leave the outer sectors, Ethan felt a quiet satisfaction. Small victories mattered. Calm words, steady actions, and visible care could overcome suspicion. Yet he also knew danger was near, in whispers, plots, and hidden agendas. The challenge ahead would test every human value he represented: patience, courage, and the willingness to act without expectation. He looked at the Queen. "Your Majesty, together we can show that peace is possible." She nodded, her eyes reflecting determination. "Then we must act wisely. Words and deeds will be our shield. We must hold fast against fear." Ethan smiled slightly. He knew that the coming days would be difficult, but for the first time he felt that human trust and voice could truly make a difference. As the transport lifted off, returning to the palace, Ethan realized that the Empire was watching him closely. Whispers would grow, doubts would surface, and challenges would appear. Yet he was ready. Words had reached the Queen before, across distance and time. Now, words combined with deeds could change minds, hearts, and perhaps the future of two worlds. After returning from the outer sectors, Ethan Brooks felt the weight of the palace more strongly than ever. Whispers had grown louder, and some nobles openly questioned the Queen's judgment. The corridors, once quiet and respectful, now held tension in every step. Ethan noticed guards glancing at him with suspicion and advisors muttering as he passed. He knew that small successes could easily be overshadowed by fear and ambition. Queen Selira met him in her private chamber. She was tense, her eyes sharp, scanning the room as if she expected an attack. "Human, some of my people are restless," she said quietly. "They do not like what they see. Your presence, it challenges their authority." Ethan nodded. "I understand, Your Majesty. Change is difficult, fear is strong, but we must continue carefully, calmly, and with actions that show trust," she sighed. "Actions alone may not be enough. Some will try to stop peace before it begins." Ethan suggested they prepare for potential challenges. "We must be ready for confrontation, but not with weapons first. Calm words, patience, and clear deeds will matter more. If we act wisely, we can prevent violence." Selira considered, then nodded. "Then we prepare, we show them results, and we act together." The following day, a gathering was announced in the central hall. Nobles, advisors, and selected citizens were invited. Ethan would present the progress in the outer sectors, showing the repairs, cooperation, and trust established. He knew that this would be a delicate moment. If he spoke poorly, suspicion could harden. If he acted arrogantly, fear could spread. He reviewed his notes carefully, rehearsed his words, and reminded himself to stay calm and clear. The hall was massive, with rows of aliens seated on raised platforms. Their eyes glowed faintly, reflecting curiosity, doubt, and caution. The Queen sat at the center, observing silently. Ethan stepped forward. "I am Ethan Brooks, human envoy," he said calmly. "We visited the outer sectors to assist in rebuilding damaged areas. We worked together with your people. The results show that cooperation is possible." He displayed images and reports of repaired walls, organized food supplies, and safe irrigation systems. The crowd murmured. Some nodded quietly, impressed by the efficiency and care. Others frowned, whispering among themselves, skeptical of human motives. Ethan continued, Our goal is not to control or dominate. It is to help to show that trust can exist and that humans value cooperation. He spoke slowly, each word measured, clear, and calm. The words carried a weight beyond his voice. They reflected patience, honesty, and intent. As the presentation ended, a group of nobles stepped forward. Their leader, a tall alien with dark blue scales, spoke harshly. "Your queen trusts a single human. You expect us to follow blindly? This is dangerous. Humans are unpredictable. Your empire risks control to an outsider." The hall grew tense. Whispers turned to murmurs of anger and fear. Ethan remained still, his hands folded. He knew that responding with aggression would worsen the situation. Instead, he chose words carefully. "We understand fear," Ethan said calmly. "We know humans are strangers, but fear grows stronger when we hide or attack. We show trust by helping, by working together, by acting openly. Words alone are not enough. Actions matter more than power." He paused, letting his words sink in. Some in the crowd seemed to hesitate. Others still muttered, unconvinced. The noble leader sneered. "Actions can be manipulated. Humans are clever. We cannot trust them." Queen Celira rose, her voice strong and clear. "Enough," she said firmly. "This human is here by my choice. He speaks and acts with honor. Fear alone will not guide my decisions. We will continue to observe, and we will decide based on results, not doubt." The hall fell silent. The queen's words carried authority, but she knew whispers would continue. Some nobles would not yield easily. Later, Ethan met with the queen privately. "They will oppose us," she said. "Some will try to sabotage progress. They see humans as threats." Ethan nodded. "Then we anticipate their moves. We continue to act with transparency and care. Small acts of trust can outweigh fear and suspicion." Celira looked thoughtful. "Your people, they are patient even under threat. Your words, they carry power but also calm. It is unusual." Ethan smiled faintly. "Calm words, steady actions, and care, sometimes that is stronger than weapons. Sometimes that is the most human power of all." Over the next cycles, Ethan and Celira visited multiple sectors. Each time, humans and Celari worked together. They repaired infrastructure, distributed supplies, and helped those in need. Small successes began to spread. Villagers and citizens who had doubted now spoke quietly of the human envoy and his guidance. Even some skeptical nobles noticed the improvements, though they hid it behind stiff faces. But opposition did not disappear. A group of nobles began plotting in secret. They feared that if the queen continued to trust Ethan, their own authority would weaken. Whispers turned into schemes. One noble suggested sabotage during a supply mission, hoping to frame humans as reckless. Another planned to spread false rumors of espionage. Ethan, unaware of the specifics, continued his work calmly, focusing on actions, patience, and trust. One evening, a report reached Ethan and the queen. A small disruption had occurred in the supply chain, a minor accident caused by deliberate tampering. The queen looked at him sharply. "Human, someone tried to make your work fail." Ethan nodded, staying calm. "We handle it carefully, investigate quietly, repair swiftly, and show that trust and cooperation still succeed." Celira's eyes reflected relief. "You're calm, it keeps me steady. I would have reacted with anger." Ethan said simply, "Anger does not build trust. Patience and action do." The next day, Ethan led a repair mission to fix the disrupted supplies. He spoke to the villagers and workers clearly, assigning tasks, showing techniques, and encouraging care. Slowly, the damage was repaired. Supplies reached the villages, and no further accidents occurred. The small victory was noticed. Some nobles' whispers began to lose power as proof of human reliability spread. Small trust, once fragile, was growing. Ethan and Celira discussed the future. "We have made progress," she said, "but some will not accept it easily. Fear runs deep in my empire." Ethan nodded. "Then we continue. We show that actions and words align. Even one mistake can undo progress, but steady guidance can overcome doubt." She smiled faintly. "Your people, they speak calmly, act patiently, and show care. I see why your voice saved me years ago. It carries hope. Perhaps hope can spread further than fear." As night fell over the palace, Ethan looked out at the city. Lights shimmered across towers, bridges glowed softly, and the air was filled with quiet anticipation. He knew the coming days would bring more challenges. Plots could surface, whispers could grow into open defiance, and opposition could attempt direct action. Yet he felt ready. His voice, his calm, and his careful actions had already begun to influence hearts and minds. He believed that even in the face of fear, progress was possible. The queen approached him quietly. "Human, I trust you, though my people may not. You must remain steady. Your actions and words are stronger than you realize." Ethan nodded. "We will continue carefully, Your Majesty. Every small success counts. Patience, clarity, and care will guide us." Sailira placed a hand on his shoulder, a rare gesture of trust and respect. "Then we proceed together." As they prepared for the next mission, Ethan felt a quiet determination. He understood that peace would not come easily. Whispers and plots surrounded them, but every act of cooperation, every clear word, and every demonstration of trust would chip away at fear. He repeated silently to himself, "Small steps, steady actions, and calm words, that is how we change hearts." In the quiet of the night, the palace seemed alive with tension, hope, and possibility. Ethan knew that the coming hours would test every human value he represented: patience, courage, and the willingness to act without expectation. Yet he also knew that words and deeds together could reach farther than armies, and that even one steady human voice could change the course of history. The palace was tense. Whispers had grown louder, and rumors of sabotage spread quietly among the nobles. Ethan Brooks knew that today could be the day when fear clashed with hope. He walked through the corridors with calm steps, checking his equipment and reviewing his plans. The queen, Sailira, waited for him in the central hall. Her eyes were sharp, but there was a hint of trust in them now. "Human," she said quietly, "some nobles will try to disrupt the final mission. We cannot allow failure. Peace is at stake." Ethan nodded. "We stay calm, we act clearly. Fear cannot control us if we show trust and cooperation." Sailira nodded. "Then let us begin." They left the palace with a small contingent of loyal guards and advisors. The destination was a major city in the outer sectors, still recovering from recent storms. The goal was to deliver supplies, rebuild damaged infrastructure, and demonstrate human-alien cooperation publicly. Ethan knew this mission would be observed by many, including those nobles plotting against them. As they arrived, a crowd had gathered. Some curious citizens watched from rooftops, while skeptical nobles and advisors murmured among themselves. Ethan stepped forward. "We are here to help," he said calmly. "Humans and Sailari work together for safety and progress. We show that trust and cooperation bring results, not fear." The mission began. Ethan and the Sailari teams organized the delivery of supplies, repaired walls, and helped farmers with irrigation systems. Each action was deliberate and clear. Ethan spoke slowly, guiding both humans and Sailari. He checked every detail, offered encouragement, and ensured safety. Small acts, passing tools, offering water, showing care for workers, built trust. Citizens began to notice. Whispers of approval replaced doubt. Yet opposition moved in secret. A group of nobles had planned to disrupt the supply lines, hoping to frame the humans as careless. They tampered with wagons, delayed transport, and spread false rumors to create panic. Ethan noticed irregularities quickly. He stayed calm, observing, and acted immediately to correct them. He reassigned teams, repaired damaged equipment, and explained the situation clearly to the Sailari. When the nobles tried to escalate the sabotage, Ethan spoke to the crowd and the guards. His words were steady, clear, and calm. "We see problems, but we handle them together. Humans and Sailari can work safely if we act openly. Fear and lies cannot stop cooperation." His calm voice reached the citizens, who began to assist willingly, discouraging the saboteurs. Even some guards who were unsure followed Ethan's clear guidance. Queen Sailira stepped forward publicly, supporting Ethan. "These humans speak and act with honor. Their intentions are clear. We will not allow fear or deception to block progress." The crowd grew silent. The presence of the queen made opposition harder to act on. Some nobles tried to protest, but their voices were drowned by the combined trust of citizens, guards, and workers. The mission continued through the day. Every repaired wall, every delivered supply, and every successful coordination demonstrated what humans and Sailari could achieve together. Citizens began to understand that fear alone did not guide the human envoy. Actions and words together could build trust. The nobles plotting against them were exposed quietly. Their attempts to disrupt the mission failed. By evening, the city was repaired, supplies were organized, and the citizens saw the success of human-Sailari cooperation. Ethan gathered the workers and spoke. "Today shows what is possible when we act together. Fear cannot control us if we use patience, clear words, and careful actions. Trust grows with results, and we see it now. The crowd nodded, some smiling, others whispering approval. The queen addressed the city. Humans have shown that their intentions are genuine. We see progress, not power. We see help, not harm. Let this day be remembered as the start of a new path. Citizens cheered softly. The nobles who opposed the mission were quiet, realizing that actions had spoken louder than words or plots. After the mission, Ethan and Sailira returned to the palace. The queen spoke privately. Human today proves that your voice and actions can influence not only me but the Empire. Even those who opposed us see results now. Ethan nodded. We still need patience. Trust is fragile. Some will resist, but small acts continue to change hearts. She smiled faintly. You have taught me that calm words and steady actions carry more weight than armies. Perhaps hope can spread faster than fear. In the following days, humans and Selari began formal negotiations. The success of the outer sector's mission made opposition weaker. More citizens and some nobles started to support cooperation. Ethan spoke clearly in every meeting, explaining human values, showing examples of successful cooperation, and demonstrating reliability. His calm voice carried confidence without threat, guiding the discussions toward mutual benefit. Finally, the day came to sign the peace agreement. The main hall was filled with citizens, guards, nobles, and advisors. The queen sat at her throne, Ethan beside her. Representatives of humans and Selari stood ready. The atmosphere was tense yet hopeful. Ethan spoke first. Today, we show that cooperation is possible. Humans and Selari can work together not as enemies but as allies. Trust is built through words and actions. Peace is our shared goal. The queen spoke next. I recognize the value of this human envoy. His actions and words reflect our hopes and responsibilities. Let this agreement mark the beginning of a new era. She gestured for the documents to be signed. Representatives of both sides signed carefully, formally, and with attention. Cameras and observers recorded the moment. History would remember it. As the signing ended, Ethan felt a quiet satisfaction. Months of work, patience, and careful actions had succeeded. Small acts, calm words, and steady guidance had overcome fear, suspicion, and plotting. Humans had demonstrated that their power was not in fleets or weapons, but in clarity, patience, and care. The Empire had changed, perhaps forever. Afterward, the queen spoke to Ethan privately. You have done more than negotiate peace. You have shown what humans are capable of. Your voice saved me long ago, and now it has saved this empire from doubt and fear. Ethan smiled softly. I only spoke as a human envoy. I followed what humans believe, help, guide, and act with care. Words and deeds together can reach farther than any weapon. She nodded. Then let your people know that humans are welcome here. Let their voices carry hope. Ethan prepared to return to human space. He said goodbye to the queen and loyal Selari advisors. Citizens and some nobles came to see him off, expressing quiet gratitude. The queen watched from the palace steps, her expression one of respect and understanding. She had learned that trust and hope could overcome fear, and that a single human voice, steady and calm, could change lives across worlds. As the shuttle lifted, Ethan looked out at the alien city. Towers shimmered in the sunlight, bridges glowed faintly, and people moved in harmony. He thought of his family back on Earth, especially his sister, Claire. He whispered quietly, "We did it. Peace is possible." He realized that humanity's true strength was not in ships, fleets, or weapons, but in the willingness to act with care, to speak clearly, and to build trust. The journey home was quiet. Ethan reflected on the months of negotiation, the challenges, the small victories, and the moments of doubt. He realized that hope could travel farther than fear, and a calm voice could reach across the stars. Humans had entered an empire that feared them and had emerged not with dominance, but with trust, respect, and friendship. As he entered human space, he knew that few would understand the true power of his mission. Fleets and weapons often gain headlines, but words, actions, and patience had achieved what others could not. He had been sent as a negotiator, but he had become a symbol, the proof that even a single human, acting with clarity, calmness, and care, could change history. The final thought in Ethan's mind was simple and clear. Our voices can carry hope, our actions can build trust. And sometimes that is more powerful than anything else in the universe. He leaned back, watching the stars streak past, ready to return home, knowing that humanity had left a mark on another world, not through war, but through peace.